my name is Steve Lisauskas. I'm a vice president at Waste Zero. Waste Zero is a waste reduction company. We were founded just over 25 years ago to help reduce trash and increase recycling in the United States. I personally got involved in zero waste initiatives after about a decade of turnaround management for distressed cities. So my background is about 15 years in local government, primarily in Massachusetts, helping improve efficiency and effectiveness of public services and improve the bottom line for cities and towns. And I realized a long time ago, I got into public policy and public administration because of my interest in the environment. And so Waste Zero is a perfect mix for me of improving financial performance for cities and towns with regard to solid waste and recycling, but also it's focused in an environmental area, solid waste, recycling, composting, textiles recovery, and other items that are really, in my mind, important to the environment and important to the bottom. Pay-as-you-throw is the application of our core economic principles to solid waste. So when you go to the grocery store, you don't pay a subscription at the beginning of the year and then get as many bananas as you want. You don't go to a retail store, pay a subscription, and get as many t-shirts or shoes as you want. That's the way we operate in solid waste. What pay-as-you-throw says is, just like with bananas, automobiles, t-shirts, and everything, you pay for what you use. And what pay-as-you-throw says is, instead of paying that subscription, either directly as a separate fee or in your taxes based on the value of your property, something completely unrelated to trash generation, what we're going to do is lower that bill. So we're going to reduce your tax bill and allow you to pay for the cost of trash directly via the cost of the trash bag. And so the city or town will set the cost of that meter, of that unit, the trash bag, at $1, $2, whatever it think it makes sense for its purpose. And then you set those bags out. And let's say your community chooses a green bag. So there's your green trash bag. You are incentivized to recycle. So what we find is with pay-as-you-throw, when people are putting their trash in that green bag, suddenly they're making different decisions. They look at that glass bottle and say, do I want to put this in my green bag where it costs me part of $1 or $2, or do I put it in my recycling, which to me feels free? And so what pay-as-you-throw does is, because of that economic incentive that exists everywhere else in our economy, once we apply it to solid waste, we see about a 44% reduction in trash and a significant increase in recycling overnight. There are a variety of different types of programs that fall under the umbrella of pay-as-you-throw. We tend to work with the most effective ones, which are the bag-based programs. You could do an overflow program that says you get 30 or 60 gallons of trash free per week. It'd be 30 or 64 or 68, depending on the cart size. Those programs may reduce trash 10%, 12%, 13%. You can do a tag-based program where you can put a sticker on your bag, and that may reduce trash 15% or so. But if it's a bag-based program where people can control how much they generate, if I put a little bit of trash out, I pay less than if I put a lot of trash out. We see about a 44% reduction in solid waste. And that happens right away. And it stays down as long as the program exists. There are communities in Maine and New York where we've seen a 61% reduction in trash just by giving people that control. Take it out of their tax bill, let them pay it directly. They pay less overall because it's a more efficient system, like we found with water when we metered it, which wasn't always metered. Electricity when we metered it, which it wasn't always metered. We saw 33, 38% reductions there. On pay-as-you-throw, you see the same thing. Enormous reduction in trash, significant increase in recycling for the folks who share data with us. On the recycling side, contamination is not much greater. It's usually in proportion. So if I double my recycling tonnage, I may see double the contamination, but that's pure pounds. It's the same percentage, right? So if it's 3% before, it's roughly about 3% after. So we see huge increases in trash, huge increases in recycling, enormous increases in donations to charity, food waste composting, and other forms of beneficial material use. And then the last thing we see that's not quantifiable, but we hear from folks in the cities and towns we work with, is community pride. People realize recycling is the right thing to do. It's not as convenient now because they're not as reminded of it all the time. They could put it in their recycling bin, but it's just as easy to put it in their trash bin. With pay as you throw, they realize, okay, I need to put it over here. And when they do, they see their trash go from this high and the recycling here. They see the swap. Trash goes way down, recycling goes way up, and they feel good about that. So we really focus on pay as you throw because of the public benefit of saving money, creating more jobs, improving the environment, all the things that are really important to us as sort of foundational principles of our company. But we also support compost programs for yard waste diversion as well as food waste diversion. We also have partnered with Simple Recycling, which is the nation's largest curbside textiles recycling firm, to offer curbside textiles recycling. We're doing about 54, 55 communities in Massachusetts now, a couple hundred nationally, where people can put their textiles out at their curb on their regular recycling day and have it collected. And that material doesn't cost the city or town anything for the material to be collected or processed, and the town will save money on its tipping fee that way. And I think one program we're working on now, which is in the pilot phase, it's really interesting. It's a program that originally started in Europe and is done in a couple communities in the US, which is called co-collection or one route. So the cost of collecting food waste is the barrier to food waste composting citywide. So if you look at a community like Worcester, as an example, Worcester could be $2.5 million to collect food waste curbside, and then you have to pay per ton to have the material processed. What co-collection one route says is, like in Europe, put the material in a different color bag. So in Worcester, the trash is in a yellow bag. Maybe the food waste goes in a green bag, gets collected with the trash and separated out. No cost of collection because it's already in the trash today. We're collecting in a different color bag, sort the bags by color, and then the food waste goes to a food waste processor, which typically costs less than incineration of trash. And now what we're doing is targeting that extra 40% of trash that's food waste. So now we don't see a 44% reduction in trash. We may see an 80% reduction in trash. And now we're landfilling and incinerating so much more material. So we're working on some pilot programs to prove it in New England. And then hopefully we'll be able to see that expand. And we'll be looking at not only compost and textiles, but we'll be looking at everything else, being able to make everything really economical because we've eliminated the cost of collection. Why they work is economics. So we have been saying for years to people, we need to increase recycling. Don't throw that in the trash. And that helps. It helps a lot. I'm not saying we shouldn't do education. It's important, but it gets us where we are now. And if we want to get beyond where we are now, the solution is not to do for year 31 what we've been doing for the last 30 years. It's not like we haven't innovated. It's not like we haven't tried. It's not like we haven't dedicated resources. We've exhausted the efficacy of the solutions we're pursuing. We need other solutions. And so when we look at pay as you throw, we see enormous waste reduction that occurs there. It's not the only thing you should do. We should keep doing recycling education. We should keep doing other things. We should keep making it convenient to recycle and to and start making it convenient to compost your food waste. So convenience is a piece, education is a piece, but economics is fundamental, and it is the driver that causes a difference. When you look at a lot of cities and towns, you can actually see pay as you throw does more for recycling than recycling does for recycling. And what I mean by that is by making recycling available, you get to say a 13%, 15%, 18% recycling rate. You implement pay as you throw, now you get to a 40%. 45% recycling rate. So just simply the availability of recycling does a lot, but with the proper incentive, you can get much more than even just the original benefit of the availability of recycling. So the economics is key. This could be done at a state level. There are states like Vermont that have implemented mandatory unit-based pricing statewide. They made some mistakes in what they did, but they've had some results too. There are other states that say can implement a performance standard, like Minnesota. one for rural and one for urban communities. And if you don't meet the standard, you go in front of a board, and the board makes a decision as to what programs you implement. I don't think that would fly in Massachusetts. But there are things that states can do to implement programs to support unit-based pricing, to support waste reduction. And frankly, we have no other choice. If we're in New England now, take a look at Rhode Island. Rhode Island has one landfill. They can't take anybody else's trash. Massachusetts in the 80s had 300 landfills. Now we have 6. 3 are host community only. They're not taking anybody else's trash. So functionally, we have 3 landfills left in Massachusetts. We're exporting about over 2 million tons of trash a year out of state. Connecticut is in the same situation, probably a little worse. So we're all chasing landfill capacity in New York and Pennsylvania now. We have no choice to start doing better. And I'm hopeful that the states, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, other states that are really experiencing the brunt of this capacity shortage will start prioritizing this as an issue and take some of the steps we know will work. Are going to save people money, going to reduce trash and increase recycling, do the right thing for the environment, because pretty soon we'll have no other choice. So if you're going to advocate for the program, this or any other waste reduction program, my recommendation is grab a friend, and each of you grab a couple friends and start calling your elected and appointed officials. The government is designed to respond to the will of the people, and not the will of the person, the will of the people. And so oftentimes, I think too oftentimes, and I've done this myself, we call town hall, we call city hall and say, I want to do this, but that's one data point. That's one person. I have seen city council meetings in communities I've served as a public official change based on this particular community had 11 city councilors. There were 2 residents who had a problem with an issue that the mayor had proposed. I know it because I spoke to those 2 people. And then prior to the meeting, I spoke to each of the 11 city councilors who told me these 2 people called them. They called all 11 city councilors. But we got into the meeting and one councilor said, I got a call from 2 people. The next councilor said, I got a call from 2 people. The next one said, hey, I got a call from 2 people. All of a sudden, 22 people had called when it was only 2 people who placed 11 calls. So grab a friend, each of you grab a couple of friends and advocate as a group to your elected and appointed officials. Government is responsive, as we have found time and time again, as we find today. Our leaders will follow when the people tell them what direction they want them to go in. When we're looking at the protests now, we're seeing unprecedented government action. For decades, we were unable to get the Confederate symbol off the Mississippi state flag. Now it's coming down. All these other really important reforms to public safety, to police service in particular, and to corrections, those are happening because people are demanding it. So organize. And organize doesn't have to be formal. You don't have to create a pack or anything like that. Grab some friends, grab some more friends, agitate, make some phone calls, tell people what you want, and stay on top of them. And the government will respond to your desire and our desire to reduce waste, improve the environment, and make for a better world for everybody. As you're thinking about what you'd like to do from a zero waste perspective and how you want to engage with the issue, my strong recommendation is you think critically and demand proof. This is an area in particular where people often say things that they have no proof for. I mean, we have a 44% reduction in solid waste for pay as you throw. Why isn't it 45%? Why isn't it 40%? Why isn't it 50%? Because the data tells us it's 44%. We have the data. People who are making claims should be required to present that data and that backup. And as we look at, so we, for instance, support plastic bag bans. We think they're good. But in my estimation, a lot of attention, maybe too much attention, has been paid to that. That's 0.3% of the solid waste stream. So we take all of the energy and all of the initiative and all of the activity of people who worked very hard to create this, and I'm not taking anything away from that effort. It's been great, and I support it, and we as a company support it. But that's 0.3% of the solid waste stream, when 40% of it in some communities is food. when 20 to 30% of it is is recyclable paper and cardboard. Stuff that's incredibly recyclable today and industry wants, still a huge chunk of it is paper and cardboard. We haven't even gotten that out. So what could we have done with all the energy and the investment of time and passion that went after 0.3% of the solid waste stream if we focused on that 40% that's compostable, that 20 or 30% that's paper? So think critically. If that's the issue that you want to get rid of because you're opposed to plastic, go for it. But think critically and choose wisely, because our resources of time and energy and passion are limited. And so demand the proof. Make sure that you're getting the information you deserve when you are advocating, when you're trying to move an issue forward, and make sure it's the highest priority issue for you, that you're getting the bang for the buck, whether that buck is actual money or investment of time and energy.